Okay, welcome back to Security and Privacy in Cloud. I'm Jay Lavanya, Assistant Professor of CSE Department. So today we are going to discuss about the Unit 4. And the topic is that Cloud Security Design Pattern. The subtopic we are going to see is that Cloud Reserves Access Control. So let's dive into the topic. So first of all, so what is meant by Cloud Resource Access Control? So it is a crucial security practices that define and enforces who can access what resources within a cloud environment, ensuring data protection and compliance. It involves implementing policies and mechanisms to restrict unauthorized access and grant permissions based on some roles, responsibilities, or some attributes. Okay, and apart from that, it refers to the mechanisms and policies which used to regulate who can access and manipulate resources in the cloud environment. And the key concepts involved in this cloud access control is that first one, identity and access management, as we have discussed from the unit 1, 2, 3. So that is very important. So you can refer to that particular video. So that is IAM. So where a centralized service that manages users and their permissions. And it's common in platform like AWS IAM or Azure Active Directory or Google Cloud IAM. And these kind of cloud resources, it also provides some other attributes like access control models. So access control models is nothing but a role-based access control, attribute-based access control, and policy-based access control. Okay, so role-based access control is that which grants access based on some user roles. Okay, and in attribute-based access control, it uses attributes like department, a location to make some decisions. And policy-based access control, it uses some detailed policies, often which is used in JSON or YAML to define some access. And authentication versus authorization. So here authentication which verifies the identity, example like password or multi-factor authentication or some single sign-on. And authorization here it refers to which determines what actions an authenticated user can perform. And principle of least privilege, users should only have the minimum permissions necessary to perform their job. And resource hierarchy, so permissions can be inherited. Example, take from an organization, it involves to the project, it involves to the resource. And auditing and logging, which tracks who's accessed what and when, and critical, which is used for some security and some compliance. Okay, and temporary credentials and access tokens, which is used for some short-term access, reducing long-term risk exposure. Now I'll just say the strategy which is used for cloud resource access control, like if you have a multi-cloud or a hybrid. Okay. So first is that we have to define a unified access control policy. So here it establishes organization-wide access principles, which uses some RBAC or ABAC consistently across the platforms, and which defines the roles like admin, developer, auditor, read only, etc. Okay, and the second part is a centralized identity provider, that is IDP. So here we have to integrate the platforms with a common IDP. Example like Azure AD or Okta or Google Workspace. Okay, and it uses some single sign-on, that is SSO, and multi-factor authentication, that is MFA. And third one is that we have to use some principle of least privilege. Assign only the permission needed for task. We have to use some time-bound or scope credentials when possible, and auditing and monitoring. So here it enables logging on all cloud services, example AWS CloudTail or Azure Monitor, GCP audit logs, and we have to set up the alerts for suspicious access pattern. And next is that automated access reviews and policy enforcement. So regularly review access permission. We have to use tools like Azure Access Review, AWS IAM Access Analyzer, or third-party solutions like Palo Alto Prisma or HashiCorp Sentinel. Okay, like, if you go for some specific platform-based implementation, in AWS, we have to define the version JSON file and the statement which you're going to affect allow or action S3 bucket or what kind of a bucket you're gonna use. And the resources, like it will be defaultly once you have selected, like step in the AWS, it will be automatically fetching the bucket. So that gives some read-only access to some specific S3 bucket which you're gonna use. And in RBAC, in Azure, if you take with the built-in row, you can give the assignee who's the specific domain you can able to give and the role. Like as I told earlier, like you can give admin or the user, the people who the client who's gonna use. Okay, so if I'm defining reader, the scope will be between the subscription. I'm sorry, the main subscription ID as well as the resource group which you're providing under the role access. Okay, so that also provides only the read-only access to a user for a specific group. Okay, and next is that Google Cloud. If you take, if you're gonna use that, there is implementation will be taking part in IAM. There is identity access management. That the role binding will be of policy binding. So here you have to again whether the user or some specific domain which you are gonna use, and based on that you have to provide the role as a viewer. Okay, so once you have assigned the viewer, you can able to do a lot of project level. Okay, so this is all about cloud resource access control. And next one, why is a cloud resource access control is important? So first one is about the data protection, second one compliance, third one security, and last one is that control. Okay, so first one, data protection. So here the cloud environment stores some sensitive data and access control mechanisms which are vital to prevent some unauthorized access as well as data breaches. Okay, and compliance is, if you take many industries, they go for some audit or some specific regulation in order to access the control measures to ensure data security and compliance. And third one, security access control, which helps to reduce the risk of data theft as well as malware infection and other security threats. Control is that access control provides granular control over who can access specific resources, allowing organizations to tailor the permissions to their need. Okay, so this is why the cloud resource access control is important. But other than that, we can able to define the access control. So why we are saying like cloud resource access control is important, if you take some real world examples. Okay, so there, like in 2019, Capital One data breach was happened. What happened is that a former AWS employee exploited an improperly configured firewall and over permissive IAM roles to access some sensitive customer data. So least privilege was not enforced and credentials were too broad, and proper IAM policies and network level controls could have prevented such access, but they did. That was one of the real-time example. And second is that protecting a sensitive data, like misconfigured S3 buckets, like many companies like FedEx or Accenture have accidentally exposed data by making some S3 buckets public. So why access control matters is that S3 buckets should use some policies. So if you are going for an AWS, there for S3, for each and every bucket, there will be some policy, access policy. So where only some specific IAM roles or the user can able to access, not the entire internet. Okay, and preventing insider threats, like a developer leaves the company but still has access to some cloud services. They could delete the resources or some leak information, right? So by implementing some proper role revocation and centralized identity management prevents these kind of risk. And the dev team needs some access to only their environments giving every developer admin can access, such lead or accidental or malicious changes across the environments. So by means of RBAC, can access only to staging, while admins have some production access. Okay, so this is related to some like what kind of things you're gonna use it. Okay, and next is that reducing blast radius. So compromise access token. So if an attacker, gains access to some cloud access token, they can do only what the token permits. If the token has some minimal scope, damage is limited. If it's over permissive, it can lead to some total compromise. So access control is just about, tagging these kind of minimizing human error, maintaining compliance, and keeping some operational running smoothly. Okay, so this is all about thing. So next we will discuss about key concepts in cloud resource access control. So here the first key concept is that identity and access management. So here the IAM is a core concept in cloud access control, providing a centralized platform for managing user identities, roles, and permission. And here are the roles which defines the level of access a user or a group has to specific resources and policies. These are the rules that define who can access what resources and under what conditions. Okay. And next is that least privilege. So what is it by least privilege? The principle of least privilege dictates that the user should only have access to the resources and the need to perform their job functions. And access control list. So they are the list that define who has access to some specific resources such as the buckets or the objects in the cloud storage. And signed URL, which provides a temporary time limited access to some specific resources, allowing users to access them without needing a user account. And service account is that, so here it deals with some special accounts that can be used for some server to server communication, and it can be granted to some specific permissions to access the cloud resources. And next one is that a resource hierarchy. So the cloud resource hierarchy, which allows for organizing resources into a tree-like structure, enabling granular access control at different level. Okay. Next is that example of cloud resource access control. So here the example is that Google Cloud IAM, which allows the administrator to grant some specific roles to the users or the group, enabling them to access some specific resources. And AWS IAM, so here it provides similar capabilities to Google Cloud IAM, allowing administrators to manage user access to some AWS resources. And Assure RBAC, it allows administrators to grant some specific roles to the users or groups, enabling them to access some specific Azure resources. And cloud storage access control is, so here cloud storage services like Google Cloud Storage and then AWS S3 use some access control list to control the access to buckets and objects. Okay. And one thing I would like to add to this point is it. So we have discussed about the examples, right? Okay. Like before discussing on these examples and the importance of cloud access control in cloud security as well as in business operations. In the constantly evolving some digital landscape, business faces some numerous challenges in protecting their data and premises, right? The first importance of access control for business is that it provides enhanced security, compliance, operational efficiency, scalability, access record, remote access control. So these things we have discussed already. Okay. The major component of these cloud resource access control is that like access card, a card reader, a control panel. Okay, and what type of solutions we are gonna give in this cloud access control, so that we will see. And main thing is that there are three basic types of cloud resource access control. First one, uh, logs and keys, and then on-premises access control and cloud-based access control. Okay, so here in cloud-based access control, you can manage the entrances remotely from anywhere in the world. With a mobile or a desktop app, you can manage who has access to entrances, or you have the ability to grant or revoke access instantly. The software is referred to as cloud-based because it is hosted in the cloud rather than on-premise services. And this provides many benefits such as lower initial investment or lower maintenance costs or on-demand availability, scalability, and then regular updates. And how does that work is their main thing by uh, you know uh, by using some specific open door to anywhere. As an administrator, you have access to web or mobile application that allows you to manage or remotely online. If you take in the wake of COVID-19, limiting usage to one's own cell phone is an important measure to help to prevent spread of pathogens. So the trend which is is upcoming, so that is called as low touch economy. And how does this cloud simple, this resource access control working is that basically the software, like it can be of database or logic, it is hosted in the cloud. It can be accessed from anywhere. Administrators can use a mobile or web app, and the end users can simply use their mobile phone to open the doors with an app or the key link. And the main advantage is that you can access the web app regardless of which OS or browser you use. You can access the software from almost anywhere. All you need is an internet connection, new features or security measures and other updates are all applied automatically. And all data and management options are centralized and can be backed up easily. So initial cost, or it comes under which is low, I mean, compared to thing. And user experience is generally much better than with on-premises solution. And the drawback of these cloud resource access control is that there becomes a little bit of a drawback. Like it have few options for customization, as well as a potential security if good practices for cloud solutions aren't followed. The advantages of cloud access control for integration partners is that it saves, time and money, which means better margin and less maintenance, not to mention some recurring revenue that grows exponentially over the long term as a new customer joins the existing customer base. So this is like diagram where you're able to see uh, the cloud access control strategies like identity and access management, which ensures that only the authorized users can access the cloud resources, and attribute-based access control, which grants access based on the user attributes and environmental conditions, and role-based access control, which assigns access rights based on user roles within the organization, and least privilege principle, which limits user access to only what is necessary for their role. Okay, and implementing strong access control in the cloud environment, if you take, uh, there may be some situation why wanna use these kind of thing is that you have to regularly update and patch the cloud infrastructure or the cloud providers. We have to stay updated the latest patches, and we have to apply some promptly to protect against some known security risk. Okay, as well as virtual private cloud. We have to do some network segmentation part, where it's an effective strategy to minimize the impact of a security breach. We have to segment a cloud environment into distinct subnets or a virtual private cloud. Based on some different security requirements, we have to apply some access control list and security groups to regulate the traffic flow between these kind of segments, and we have to enforce some strict firewall rules. Okay, and then uh, like these are the conclusion if I would like to says that we have to implement a strong access control measures in cloud environment, which is essential to protect some sensitive data and prevent unauthorized access and reduce the risk of security breaches. And by embracing all this protection method, businesses can establish a robust access control framework in the cloud, and this proactive approach will ensure security, safeguard data, and ensure the integrity of cloud resources in increasingly interconnected digital landscape. So far in this particular thing, we have discussed about what I mean by cloud resource access control and why this cloud resource access control is important. And we have seen about the key concepts which are involved in cloud resource access control. And the examples we have discussed like Google Cloud, AWS, Azure, okay. And we have discussed about the Google Cloud Function Service accounts. Yes. So I hope you have a clear idea on this topic. We will discuss next topic in the next video. Thank you all.